Okay,
I think
I
we're
think
almost.
we could be live for now.
Yes.
Waiting for the last participants, but I guess we can start. So, hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to today's webinar about cracking the code of e-commerce success. Today, you will get highly practical insights in winning paid search strategies for the future. And we want to do a short introduction of ourselves today. And I ask Vanessa to start with your introduction.
Yes, thank you, Florian. So hello, welcome to the webinar. My name is Vanessa. I am Senior Client Success Manager at smec. I have been here for the past 4.5 years, managing clients with 400 to 500K per month, but also clients with a smaller budget. So I do have experience on both larger and smaller accounts. I come from the marketing and e-business field, and I have been in the marketing industry for the past 8 years, and I can share quite some experience here. A little fun fact here, recently I won the Epic Award in our company, which is voted by the employees. And I was actually so surprised that I didn't have much words to say, but that's why I'm super glad that I was able to prepare for this webinar. And on a personal note, because I probably lost you somewhere at I have a lot of experience in marketing, I really like plants. I'm really into plants. I'm really into food, cooking and eating as well. And also I really like dancing. So I'm going to hand over to Florian for his introduction.
Vanessa, I also voted for you for the Epic Award. Well deserved on this point here also.
Thank you. Thank you.
My name is Florian Hochmuth, Senior Client Lead. I'm 10 years in the e-commerce sector now. And at smec, I'm taking care with my team of the biggest clients here. We are managing ad spends from a few €1,000 a month to over $1 million a month. And I could gain quite some experience over the different verticals in the past years. Maybe what am I doing in my free time? I'm a member of the fire brigade and rescuing people from burning houses. You can do an analogy on that with smec, because here I try to save the money from being burned by Google and Bing for our clients. So also in today's webinar, you will hear some points on that to kind of save money or well invest your money. But short note on smec also here. I guess most of you know us already. We are a tech company with a really strong service component, have a strong e-commerce focus for 15 years now. We have 400 clients at the moment and 115, I would say, highly engaged e-commerce and software specialists working at our offices in Linz, London, and Vienna. Someone did the math here and calculated all our client revenues, which summed up to an amazing number of 5 billion a year. So that's really an impressive number to show. But let's jump to today's agenda. What's in for you today? We want to look at the current state of e-commerce and especially paid search, so how we are doing at the moment, and then jumping to our main points about learnings of 1 year of PMax. It's out now for 1 year, but it still has limitations. And we want to show you some examples how to overcome these limitations by using data. Additionally, it's also super important to have a constant testing strategy. So that's a thing of, I can't say the word, but I want to do that, get freaking better every day with testing. And the last point is then best practices beyond PMax. So what can we do within our accounts to grow the business? Let's jump into the first point of the current state of e-commerce and how the world is doing at the moment. Here we have a table of the development of the different industries now. And what we can see here is that, for example, the fashion industry decreased by minus 20% in Q1 2023. Also, home and furniture was minus 10, and even fast-moving consumer goods minus 3%. So that's the current state, that we have a negative growth over all branches here. Data is from Germany, which is one of our biggest market, but you could also lay this data nearly all around Europe countries. So maybe coming to the next slide, here you see consumer confidence index from the OECD. And with 2022, this index was also strongly decreasing. What does that mean? Consumers rather save their money than spending it. And we still see low numbers underneath the index of 100 here. So that's still to continue. Then on the next slide, how is the competitive environment? How does the competitive environment look like? Here we see the impression share, overlap rate, and outranking share of Amazon, which is basically the main competitor of all our clients. And Amazon is constantly on the rise, and that's stating high competition here in all sectors. Coming to page search itself and smec internal data we have here. Looking at the CPC actually decreased a little bit. We could say around 1% compared to 2022. But if we look at the conversion rate, we see a drop of 10% in March 2023 compared to 2022. So that's also stating the numbers before, that that customer acquisition costs definitely rise because of a really low conversion rate over all our client base. But maybe let's look at the next data on PMax, because this is kind of the main driver here of that.
Yes, talking about the current state of e-commerce, PMax is of course very present here. So there is still a significant share of advertisers who invest in standard or smart shopping here. So looking at the chart, we see it leveled around 50%. And so you will also probably ask yourself, okay, wait a minute, why is there still smart shopping on this chart? So actually, yes, there are still very few accounts with smart shopping in place, which are still active and sometimes performing better than PMax. But nevertheless, at some point, PMax will take over, and we always recommend our clients to actually have PMax active already to gather data as soon as possible before this switch happens. So very interesting on this graph, why is the adoption rate at 50%, or why did it level at 50%? So many advertisers still want to have control over their products and their CPCs, and are not the biggest fan of Google's black box, which of course is understandable. And also, they don't want to give up on the higher levels of control standard shopping offers at the moment. But in this webinar, we also want to dwell on how we can manage our products despite the black box with PMax, and how our product ePMax can support you here. So summing up the current state of e-commerce, the first point is returning to the new normal. So there is a cool down of the high growth period that has been going on in the past 2 years. Also, we see our clients on one hand struggling with overstock, and on the other hand, battling with no stock. So this is a problem here. And also the lack of talent and workforces. So it has become harder to recruit new talent to form a basis for the future growth. So this is also one factor. Then second point would be increasing costs. So we definitely see higher customer acquisition costs, higher fulfillment and shipping costs, and also higher interest rates. Thirdly, there is a lower consumer demand. So due to inflation and high energy prices, the consumers actually think twice if they want to buy something. Also increased price sensitivity here, and also lower average order values is something our advertisers fight with. So the key is to have a good balance between revenue growth and profitability. Since at the moment we need to do more with actually less resources, so it is really crucial to attract the right customers for the right products. So yes, if you see this development in your accounts, please don't worry. This affects actually all of our accounts. It's a common development we currently see across all accounts and countries. So yes, we're actually going into the next topic to show you our learnings from 1 year of exploring PMax. So 2.5 years have passed since the beta launched of Performance Max, and soon it will be 1 year anniversary since the automatic upgrade happened. Let's talk about the learnings we as a company had within this year. And yeah, most of these learnings are based on analysis of our accounts, on analysis and testings of our accounts. And we do hope that you find these insights very interesting. And of course, we are super interested in your experiences with PMax. And please do shoot us a message in the Q&A section of Zoom here. And we're super curious about how you experienced Performance Max in the last year. And also, we're going to have a question and answer session at the end. And we will try and answer all of your questions. So let's dive in. So one of our first learning was that Performance Max is not perfect yet, we would say. We learned that it seems to have a bestseller bias and continues to give long tail items a chance to shine. In this bar chart, we see insights from one of our furniture retailers, and we definitely see that a large share of the inventory is being ignored. Of course, if you only push bestsellers, the ROAS goal you set will be reached more easily, and some other products that are not shown, they don't have any impressions and are actually left behind, I would say. So this creates a high dependency on these bestsellers, which we should avoid. But let's not only focus on the flaws of PMax. PMax is actually constantly evolving and striving to get better. And we're super excited to show you the new features we've seen on Google's roadmap, because they offer a lot more insights and steering mechanisms. So first of all, page feeds. You are able to upload page feeds to refine the results when using the final URL expansion feature. This is super interesting because you can use labels to group URLs by topics, for example, and make them easier to use in specific campaigns or asset groups. Also, brand exclusion, which is both features are still in beta. So brand exclusions is where you are able to exclude your brand in the PMax campaign. So you can specify you can use a specific target ROAS goal for example, your brand. So for your brand search terms.
I think here Google really reacted on our inquiries and what our clients was asking for brand exclusions to bring this into the beta. Looking forward to that, really.
Exactly. Yes. A further feature is store sales reporting. So this will be available for physical stores, and the PMax campaigns will be optimized based on the in-store purchases via target ROAS. Also very, very interesting for physical stores. And then another one is new customer acquisition goals. So this is already available in beta, and it will be focusing on new clients with a highly predicted lifetime value.
Then coming to insights that Google already brought to the account. Here we have now auction insights available. There you could really see how you are doing compared to your competition. This wasn't possible at launch. Another thing is the search trend insights. There you could see how like the average is doing and how search trends are going into a certain direction compared to your actual performance. Also super interesting insights now available on the Insights Overview tab. Another thing is was also highly asked, the search term report, or now called search term insights. Here Google grouped all the search terms to Google specific topics, and you could now look into these topics and use this, for example, for asset creation or landing page improvements. Another thing is the audience insights. Yeah, you could see the best performing audiences here in the example grouped on conversions, clicks, or impressions. Here you could also take a specific audience out of your best performing audiences and make a video campaigns to get, for example, further reach. So Google has still some limitations. They brought some new things already, gave us some more insights, but the limitations are still given. So how to overcome that is with data. And now we will look into that, which data you can use and how to best steer the campaigns.
Exactly. So we're trying in this topic to combine all of our learnings in the past year into a pretty much data-driven solution to eliminate limitations with PMax. So let's dive in. So first and foremost, PMax requires a shift in mindset. So as Irene, one of our amazing solution engineers, said, it's not solely managing the performance by adjusting the target ROAS. It's actually about managing the algorithm itself. So what does that mean? It means giving the algorithm as much relevant input and data points as possible, and to structure the campaigns aligned to your goals. So we're not only taking into consideration Google's performance, but also internal data points. So probably you're asking yourself the question, which data points is she actually talking about? And how should I incorporate them in campaigns? So yeah, just let me explain this before we jump in. The first learning is to really avoid simple campaign structures. So maybe, of course, after the switch, there was, after Smart Shopping, just one PMax campaign in your account. And so you just applied maybe one ROAS goal, and the campaign started learning and working. So, but it could happen that some products actually reach the target ROAS goal, some products don't reach that goal, and some products are maybe on target. But we shouldn't have all the products in one campaign, because then some products might be left out. So how do we solve this? So the goal here is to integrate data which is really relevant to your business. As already mentioned, do not only use Google Ads data, historical data actually, for the clustering of your campaigns. But also use the internal data, like, in this case, return rates, margin, stock levels, and so on, to cluster your campaigns.
And Vanessa, what do you see here out of experience of all our accounts as the most important data points, or what's most often used here?
Mm-hmm. It's actually really depending on your industry and your company goals. But the data points we currently use the most are margin data, stock levels, and of course historical performance. And we combine them in the scoring approach I will talk about later on. And yeah, it really depends what is the goal of your company. And just a short comment on this here. If you start to incorporate internal data, just really use the data you currently have available right now. Further data points can always be added step by step, but just start and don't wait until you have every data you want to use.
Great. Okay.
Okay. Of course, everything I said sounds easier said than done. So, of course, there are certain challenges identifying and connecting this data. Also, feeding this data to the algorithm in a way the algorithm understands could also be a further challenge. And thirdly, additionally, the parameters are super volatile. So some parameters are super volatile. So we have to take this into consideration, like seasonality, demand, and so on. And really important, don't only look at past KPIs, but predict the future. I mean, of course, we're not able to predict the future, but taking some certain KPIs into consideration after some time, you might be able to predict a conversion rate or an average order value for a product. So we're actually trying this. So from the last points I just mentioned, you can already see that this is a high effort to keep this up to date, especially manually. And but don't worry, we're here to support. And this is where our scoring approach comes in. So we use data to predict the potential of each product. This is what I mentioned on the slide before. So in our example here, we have sneakers, and we take into consideration a lot of factors, like the information you give us maybe in custom labels, stock levels, brand, and of course the smec secret sauce. And combining all of this information to a predicted conversion rate and to a predicted average order value. So this equals into the score of 38 for this specific product. And on our next slide, we will see how this is funneled into the campaign structure. So here on this slide, we can find the sneakers again, which have the score of 38, which is a pretty well-performing product. And it is funneled into campaign 1, which is set with a low target ROAS and a high budget. So with our database prediction and scoring, we cluster our scored items. And after the creation of the campaigns on our side, we funnel the products automatically into the right campaign. And of course, in the other campaigns also, the ideal ROAS target is set for these products. So as a further example, if there would be a product with a score of 4, it would be funneled into campaign 3 with a high target ROAS and a lower budget. So products with a lower score, will be funneled into that campaign. And this, of course, happens automatically every day.
Then coming to the next topic, getting freaking better every day. I think that's something we should do as an account manager and in e-commerce anyways. So let's take a look at A/B testing here and what we can test. For example, we could test Google ads against Microsoft ads. So here, maybe the whole account, how they both are performing. Another test would be PMax only against a hybrid setup we could do, or standard shopping against PMax campaigns. So there are different variants of A/B tests, but you should consider some best practices here. So what are the do's and don'ts? It's really essential to choose a scientifically accurate testing method so that you can really analyze the results and really have results you could use for further steering your campaigns. What's essential here? Setting clear goals. So do you want to improve your ROAS? Do you want to improve overall revenue or reduce costs? Because that's an essential thing when later analyzing your campaigns. We also had, for example, a thing that we defined a goal and then we looked at completely different data, or a client looked at completely different data in the end. So that's not how you do a valid A/B test. What should you also consider? That you have enough resources, because testing takes time, definitely. And you should implement a process where you could do continuous testing. So what are we doing? We run one test. This is maybe, that's from 4 to 6 weeks. We have a pre-test phase. You should definitely consider a pre-test phase if you set up a new test that all campaigns can gather data. And then after 4 to 6 weeks, you start another test. What you also should consider here is delayed conversions. So look at your conversion window. In most cases, is 30 days, but we do at least 1 week to get most of the delayed conversions factored in the test results. And then you could really analyze your campaigns. But yes. Coming to the next slide, how we approach A/B testing at smec. We typically go for a geo-split test with Google's matched market approach. So that's a regression model where you combine 2 lines to really have the same behavior of the regions. So it's not a geo-split test where you just go for regions, but you really look, for example, on revenue and costs and have a fair split. Because, for example, in the UK, the London area for sure has much more volume than the rest of the country here. Some results we were doing here on a PMax test. This was with a furniture retailer with our ePMax data-driven sciolution. We could reach a ROAS uplift of 16% here with a really scientifically valid testing method. So I can just ask you to try different things, test it, and iterate on that further within your account.
Good.
Yes, then coming to the next topic of best practices in our accounts.
Exactly. So in this chapter, we would like to talk about the best practices by showing you really direct cases of our different industries. So the goal is here to show you a modern campaign setup with PMax, or respectively actually ePMax, and thinking beyond this campaign type. So our first case is a sports retailer. And compared to last year, they had to cut their budget, and still they have a very ambitious revenue goal. So what goals?
I think that's a common thing now also, that budgets gets cut and you really have to focus on your primary performance drivers.
Yeah, that's true. Definitely. So what are the goals here for this sports retailer? So of course, spend every available euro as efficient as possible. I think this is also something everyone wants to do. Yes, so another goal is meet customer goals, actually, which is buying the right product at a reasonable price, but also meeting the retailer's goals. So achieving an adequate margin by reducing return rates and really focusing on the high margin products. So what was our strategy here? What did we do? We incorporated margin data, return rates per item group, the total website sales, and the size index of the product. And of course, also Google Ads performance and volume. So it is very likely, if the product has a good relative price compared to the competitors, for example, if the product is in season, it has low return rates, the core size is in stock, and the product has a good margin, that it will go into the low TROAS campaign, which we will see on the next slide. So to have a visualization of how this campaign setup looks like. So on the left, we see that we have the smec score and also the client data combined, which equals into 3 ePMax campaigns with a high score, a medium score, and a low score. So as mentioned on the slides before, if the product has a high score due to good margin, due to low return rates, and so on, it will go into the high score campaign, which has a low target ROAS. Because of course, we want to push these products. If the product has a low score, it will go into the campaign with a high target ROAS. Our second case is a furniture retailer with 50% performance max already running. And their problem is that they're currently selling too many accessory items. So why is this happening? Because Performance Max tends to push the cheap top-selling products more than the expensive long-tail products. So from this advertiser, the goal was to sell more main products. So, for example, sofas, tables, and beds, compared to the accessory products like decoration or cutlery. In order to attract these better customers. So our approach here was to use feed-only PMax. So we created a feed-only PMax campaign next to standard shopping. So first of all, we started with PMax with an PMax scoring approach with high, mid, low. But additionally, we added a dimension with main versus accessory products. So the goal was here that we can allocate the budget accordingly and also have separate target ROAS goals. So how does this look like? So we factored in the smec scores, the smec score with brand, product type, price level, custom label, and so on. And the result was the following. So with the high score until the medium score, we have PMax. And with standard shopping, we had the medium score accessory, the low score main, and the low score accessory. So everything which performs quite well, we used PMax for, and for the rest, we split it up into standard shopping. And our third case, which is the last one for today, is a fashion retailer with a very strong legacy brand. So for them, it is super important to have a specific branding or specific branding budget, actually. And they also have a dedicated branding goal. So this is why they would like to split the brand terms from PMax. And for them, it is also super important that the brand safety is given. So they want to decide which headlines, which descriptions, which assets are used for the branding search terms. And also, they want to avoid that the ROAS is artificially inflated with brand-related traffic. So the strategy here was to exclude own branded search terms from PMax and also use programmatic for branding, for example, and run their brand search campaigns. So they actually started having the search brand campaign next to PMax. And here you're able to set a dedicated goal and your dedicated budget. You can define CI conform ad texts and assets. And especially for them, it was important to have certain insights on who is actually also bidding on their brand. So in this case, we additionally set up a standard shopping campaign and and using an extensive negative keyword list to catch all the branded shopping traffic. So on this slide, we have the results of this setup. So the PMax campaign launched in a new account in August. After some time, the negative keyword brand list was implemented. And we do definitely see that the ROAS dropped right after the negatives have been added, as well as the volume. But if we look at the performance after a month, we do see that the ROAS increases again. And even though actually the traffic and clicks remained on the same level. So definitely just be patient here a little bit. The algorithm has to learn. And then lastly, we also have some further best practices. In my opinion, this is more about thinking about the target ROAS box. So I call it that way, since I hear, a lot of advertisers asking, hey, but can we do anything else but changing the ROAS goals if I want more traffic, for example. But it's not only the ROAS goal that you can change to drive traffic, but of course, also increasing budget if limited. And further optimizations would be enriching your keywords, or enriching your audiences with further keywords and adding similar websites, for example. Also, very important, don't forget using seasonal bid adjustments if you know, okay, there might be a higher conversion rate in the next weeks, for example. And also take a closer look at your foundation. Respectively, I'm talking about the feed. So do also check the feed and your titles and headlines and descriptions of your products, if they're relevant to your users. And another important best practice, or something you could try, is to add an additional campaign for the sleepers. So we call them sleepers, which are products that don't have any impression at all, and give that campaign a lower target ROAS, so it gets more traffic. So these are just a few additional best practices you could try to optimize your PMax campaign and to drive traffic. Yeah, all these best practices we just heard are not only essential for Google Ads, but also for Microsoft Ads. So our clients are actually taking these learnings from Google Ads and transferring them to Microsoft Advertising. And yeah, our last topic in this webinar will be a sneak preview. So Performance Max will actually also come to Microsoft Ads. And we can definitely have some cross-channel or cross-platform learnings here, because we are also able to use the scoring approach I talked about earlier in Microsoft Advertising. Yeah. So why Microsoft Advertising? As we heard from Florian at the beginning of the webinar, the competitive environment is getting tougher and tougher. So our advertisers are considering additional channels. And of course, Microsoft Advertising is here super important. Yeah, especially since the announcement of the ChatGPT integration, we do see a higher traffic on Microsoft Advertising. I would also personally call it the new era of Microsoft Advertising, especially with Amazon, Xandr, and Netflix in the future. So in my opinion, advertisers really should definitely see Microsoft Advertising as an additional revenue stream, which is in most cases highly efficient and should definitely not be set aside. Yeah, looking at Microsoft Advertising, so it's actually growing. So 96 new markets were launched in 2022. And we have 12 billion incremental annual searches, which is a super high number, and also 9% increase in Bing volume in general. So these are, yeah, very interesting numbers for Microsoft Advertising. And also, for Microsoft Advertising, we shouldn't be just thinking about search and shopping. There's also Amazon, where over 1 billion people are part of the Microsoft Audience Network. Those are mostly users with a high household income and more likely to be college graduates. And yeah, in general, as we know, on Microsoft Advertising, we have a higher age range compared to Google Ads, for example. And what is super important, there are certain decision makers on Microsoft who can definitely influence your performance in the end. Which is what is also super interesting about Microsoft Advertising, that you're actually reaching other audiences that you probably wouldn't be able to reach on the Google network. So it's not only additionally, it's actually also new clients. And we wanted to bring one example of our customers about Amazon audience campaigns. So we definitely see some good results here. Looking at the clicks, we have higher clicks. Looking at the CTR, we have a higher CTR compared to Google Ads in this case. And also looking at the CPCs, they are much cheaper than in Google Ads display network or audience network, actually.
Yeah, here really interesting that Microsoft also super expanding in the audience network and having a lot of new initiatives there. For me as a Netflix user, I'm curious how the ads will look like on this platform.
Yes, I'm also really curious. Also here, so if you're interested in anything concerning Microsoft advertising, please just let us know. We definitely like to support you here. Also, we have been the retail team of the year. So we won the retail team of the year award for the second year in a row, which is a super great achievement and just shows our good connection with Microsoft and also that we can definitely support you here.
Great. So we are nearly to the end of today's webinar. So let's do a short summary here. As explained in the first part of the webinar, we definitely have a challenging economic environment for all e-commerce players at the moment. But there are ways to overcome that. We have 1 year of PMax now. The campaign type itself is definitely one of the main performance drivers in the accounts. It has a lot of limitations. Google was improving already some things, will bring some new betas, brought already some insights to the account type, but there are still limitations you could overcome with really using your own data, using a profound structure in the accounts, and also complement this structure with other campaign types or other channels like Microsoft. And also to that, do the testing on your own, test different approaches. Every account has different goals, has maybe really special things you have to consider. So use a profound testing strategy and get better than every day to really find the best results within your account. Yes, that's the summary from our side. I think have some time left for questions, and I would come to the next slide and some questions that may have been posted by now.
Yes, let's see. Okay, I see some questions. Let me read. Let me read through them. Okay, there is one question. I will read it out loud and then we'll see who is able to answer this. So in the current experiment tab on Google, I just see experiments PMax versus standard shopping. How can different PMax approaches be tested against each other? I think Flo, this is Florian. This is one of your questions, one of your topics.
Thanks. As stated here, currently it's possible within Google to test ePMax against standard shopping, but it's not possible to test different ePMax approaches. So I can recommend to you to either use scripts or get to an external testing tool, or like we are doing as the matched market approach, also using scripts, and within our data scientist team using external tools to analyze the different ePMax approaches here. Hope that answers the question.
Perfect. Good. Let me look for more questions. So another question here would be, how can I add negative keywords to PMax? I think I can answer that right away. So as mentioned before, in some accounts, the beta already is in the accounts, so you can actually add them directly to the campaign. In some accounts, this is not the case. You can only add negatives to account level. And if you really want to add campaign level negatives and you don't have the beta in your Google Ads UI yet, you can contact your Google rep and they will do this for you. Yes, I hope this answers the question. We still have a few minutes left in our time box. So another question was, let me read. The margin of all my products are the same. Does this mean that I have to use PMax out of the box?
Okay, I can also jump into that. Maybe as we've heard today from Vanessa, there are different approaches to it. It's not limited. So also if you just have the same margin, you could use other data, and it definitely makes sense to structure your PMax campaigns based on other data. Performance data is definitely one driver here, or all product data you could use to structure that differently.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. And as I said, like, don't be afraid to just start, even though you don't have so many data points. You just, you can add them, step by step. Okay, I think there is still time for one last question. Let me see. Are there any best practices in regards to asset groups and audiences? Okay, wow. This is actually a longer question, but we will still answer this. I think I can take over here. So concerning asset groups, you should definitely have different asset groups for sure. You should structure them, I would say, by the most relevant categories. Make sure to not go too low into the product level hierarchy, because you will probably also need a lot of assets for this. So, for example, we have in the furniture industry, we would say bed and accessories, seating furniture, closets, but you can also summarize some of these product types. For example, cupboard, shelves, and chests are really similar, so you could summarize them and have similar assets for them. Also, I would say, don't forget to optimize your assets. This is super important. If you see headlines having a low performance, do change them. Or if you see assets having a low performance, just change them. Concerning asset groups, this was the answer. And also concerning audiences, it's super important to use audiences and audience signals, actually, to give the algorithm a certain starting point. So do incorporate audience signals right from the beginning. Really use a granular custom audience setup, I would say. So definitely add keywords or actually search terms to your custom audiences. And another best practice, I would say, is using first-party lists. So do import your Google Analytics 4 signals, for example, to use in your PMax campaigns. So to sum it up, audiences are super important to kickstart your campaigns and give the algorithm a specific direction, I would say. And it does decrease the learning phase for the algorithm. Okay, anything to add here, Florian? I think we're pretty much at the end of the time box. This question was a little bit longer.
But definitely an important question. Also, the whole audience topic in general in Google Ads, and like you mentioned, with the sunset of Universal Analytics, I hope that everyone is already collecting GA4 audience data and is also activating that in Google Ads in general.
Exactly. Alone, this topic would be worth another webinar.
Let's talk to the analytics and tracking team. Maybe they can do one the next time.
Perfect. Okay.
We're
pretty much at the end of our webinar. Yes. I would say thank you from my side and also from Florian's side for joining us today. We're going to answer all of the other questions that you have separately. So we promise we're going to answer them. And yeah, see you next time, I would say.
Thanks a lot. Have a good week. Bye.
Bye.